Good morning and welcome to our YouTube channel. So this morning we're going to do a wee wander around what we call the Duke's Pass. It's pretty cold this morning. We've had about 16-17 degrees the last 2 days, and for autumn that's really freak weather. Woke up this morning, starry skies, thinking we'd have frost. There's no frost, but there's a lot of cold dew. It's about 5 degrees at the moment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something completely different, and I'm going to look at some woodland photography this morning. And as you can see over here, there's a lot of single spruce trees, Scots pines, larch. I think they're larch, or they could be silver birch. And what I'll try and do is I'll try and find shots. The sun's just about to come up over the hill, so I've timed it. It's about 7:30 in the morning. There's some nice ground mist starting to appear. The sky's quite nicely lit. So let's go for a wee wander around the woods and let's see what images we can get this morning. Well, I can understand probably why there's not a lot of people come off the road and into this. Well, it's a bog. I'll just see if I can show you my feet at the moment, because they're kind of sucked into the ground. I thought I might have been able to venture quite a wee bit in, but it's proven to be quite a challenge, because everywhere I walk I get sucked down into the ground. So what I'll do is I'll try and make best use of the location that I'm in, because I'm struggling with my feet because I'm getting sucked right down into it's like a bog that I'm in. There's a couple of nice trees round about me, so what I'll try and do is I'm going to change my lens because I can't get that close. And I'm just looking behind me and the sun's starting to hit the top of the hills. I don't know if the camera can pick that up. So what I'll do is I'll get set up, I'll change my lens, and then we'll see if we can get some close-up shots with a longer lens. So I've changed to the bigger lens, but what I'm also doing is before the sun comes up, I'm just focusing in on some of the trees. So before the sun comes up, I'm waiting on the sun actually hitting these trees, if that's possible. I can see the sun coming slowly down the hills beside me over the trees. But there's some right moody, misty images straight in front of me. So what I'm trying to do is I've got a composition where I've got a tree on the right hand side and what looks like a bush. But the top of the bush is capped with hundreds of small cobwebs, and round about me is covered in hundreds of small cobwebs on top of all the grass and some of the bushes. But there's a mist coming up behind this tree, so that'll disappear as soon as the sun comes up. So what I'm trying to do is get some moody shots at the moment by looking back towards the sun before it actually comes up over these trees, because there's quite a nice mist and it's causing quite a nice haze. There's also a couple of bushes over on the right hand side where they've got spiders' webs highlighted by the dew. So what I'll do is I'll take a number of images of where I am in this location of spiders' webs, dew on the grass, and then I'll just share my images as I go along. And then what I'm doing is I'm just waiting on the sun coming up behind me, just that little bit more that starts to brighten up the trees in the landscape, because all the autumn colours are now starting to come through, and as the sun hits them it's warming them really nice, and there's some really nice tones. I've taken a number of shots, spiders' webs on the grasses, so hopefully they've turned out. I keep looking behind my camera because the sun's starting to come down now, and it's really lighting up the trees. So what I'll do is I will actually turn around and take some shots as the sun's hitting the trees later on. But first of all, I've noticed there's this little tree in front of me, and as you can see here, or maybe you can't, what I've done is I've focused in on the tree in front of me on the right hand side, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some shots of the trees before the sun comes up, because there's some really nice soft tones behind the trees and beside the trees, because they're smaller trees that are kind of diffusing with the colours, and it looks really soft. So I've focused in on the tree on the right hand side, and then all the trees in the background are giving it that kind of soft diffusion feeling. So there's a couple of other trees here beside me on the left, so I'll take those images and I'll share them with you. So as you can see, the sun's coming down. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking shots of that kind of tree line at the side of the road, and just zoom right in and just pick out one or two trees, and I'll focus in on them. There's a cluster of trees over on the far left hand side that you can just see above my finger there. They're just peeking over the skyline in the horizon. So I'm going to take shots of those trees, and I might do a vertical image as well. And then what I'll do is I'm going to zoom in to the pine trees that are sticking out from some of the smaller trees, and I'll see if there's any kind of textures in there and any variations in colour, because what I've also been doing is I've been adjusting my white balance this morning. So where I normally put my white balance on auto, and then I can correct my white balance in post-processing, what I've done this morning, I've been setting my white balance to shade, and that's been really bringing up all the vibrant colours and warming up the scene as well. So yeah, the sun's getting stronger, the sun's definitely warming up the scenes, but what I'm also noticing, there's some clouds starting to form and come our way. So I'm going to wait here as long as I possibly can. I can see the sun coming up behind me over the trees, and I'm going to start focusing on, I've taken shots of the trees behind me without sun, and then what I'll do is hopefully the sun, I'll start hitting these trees and we'll see what effect we can get. I'm swithering on whether to put the polarizer on, because there's not a lot of sheen, because normally if you're in a forest and it's wet, you want to put your polarizer on because that takes the glare and the shininess off the leaves. So what I'll do is I'll keep taking shots, I'll share them as I go, and then when the sun comes up we'll flip round and we'll see what images we can get with the sun hitting the trees behind me. Well, you'll never believe it, the sun's away. So the sun's behind a cloud. So it looks like looks like I might not be getting the sun on these trees after all. But you never know, we'll give it time. We've waited long enough. I can't really venture very far from here because I'm right in the centre of a kind of bog swamp. So every time I move I get sucked down. So what I'm doing here is I'm just focusing in, I'm waiting on the sun, so I'm as well taking photographs. So I've set my camera up for shade white balance because it's warming up the scene for me. There's a cluster of small Christmas trees over here at the woodland, and I've got them positioned in the top right hand third on my image. I'll focus in, I'll take the shot, and that's quite a nice warm image of those trees. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to place them on the left hand side, because there's a small section of trees behind that look really nice and soft. I'm just going to reposition my composition so I've got the right image. I'm going to focus in on these trees again. Oh, that's really nice. So what I've got is I've got the dark pine trees at the very back. I've got a row of what looks like silver birches in the middle, and then I've got those small Christmas trees in the bottom. So I've got 3 layers to my image. So with me now changing the white balance to shade, I've got a much warmer scene. It's quite cold at the moment because there's no sun, but I've got a warmer scene. I've got more browns and yellows and the greens, and that's quite a nice little scene. So I've spotted another cluster of trees behind those trees I was shooting, and I'm going to focus in on them. Again, I'm going to keep the white balance at shade because I want a warmer temperature, and I'm having a real bother. So I'm struggling to focus because my camera's vibrating, and the reason the camera's vibrating is because my tripod's sunk into this soft moss, and every time I move it starts to go down a bit. So what I've done is I've had to be really careful, and I've set the timer, oh, and that's really nice, so that I've got, my hands are free, I'm not putting any pressure, I'm trying not to move my feet beside it, because this ground's so soft and watery that as soon as I move, it kind of shakes and vibrates the camera as well. So I have to be really, really careful because I want to make sure I've got a pin sharp image. So I'm going to try, I've got a tree right in front of me, and I'm going to see if I can get an image of that tree. I might have to switch into portrait mode. In fact, I will have to switch to portrait mode. I'm going to zoom out a little bit just so that I've given the tree some space. Plus I want a kind of diffused foreground. So I really don't want the foreground to be that much in focus. What I want to do is concentrate on the tree. And I've now got the tree in focus. I'm keeping my colour temperature at shade, and that's really nice and warm. And I think I felt a spit of rain there. So I did. So it's starting to rain. Whoopee. So what I'll do is I'll go and jump in the van, and we'll go and find different locations through the Dukes Pass, and let's see how we got on this morning. Well, I don't know if you can see how wet I am, but I'm soaking all the way right up to here because there was a deep stream I had to go into, so luckily my waterproof trousers, well, I hope they protected me because I haven't got a change, and all the grasses here are absolutely soaking, so thank goodness I put my waterproof trousers on. Right, let's head off and see what more images we can get. I've had to come into the van for my coffee because the rain started, believe it or not. I thought the forecast was to be pretty dry today, but the start I had with the sunrise was proven to be quite spectacular. But hey ho, in true Scottish weather fashion, the clouds came and destroyed the sun. So it started to rain, so I left that location. I'm just driving round the Dukes Pass at the moment. I'm going to have a wee 5-minute chill while hopefully either the rain passes over or the rain doesn't get as heavy as it was, and then I'll try and jump out and get some shots at other locations. But the Dukes Pass was built round about 1885 by the Duke of Menteith, and he really built it so that he could come and get access to his own estate. And then in 1932 the Forestry Commission bought it over and turned it into probably a mainstream B road for Scotland, and it links Aberfoyle to Brigatuck and then continues on to Callander. But it became a real tourist hotspot after Sir Walter Scott wrote The Lady of the Lake, which was Loch Katrine, and ever since then all the Victorians and everyone had used this as a kind of tourist hotspot. So the road had to be upgraded and the road had to be made so that it was accessible by everyone. And to be fair, it's a stunning location, it's a beautiful road. I would hate to have been part of the team to build this road because it's got so many undulations, it's got so many twists and turns, but it is a great road to drive. Great road to drive with amazing scenery. So yeah, I'm sitting here in the van, I'm looking out my window and I can see Ben Ann, I can see Ben Venue, and through the rain it's stunning. So what I'll do is I'll finish my coffee and my breakfast bar, and then what we'll do is we'll move on and we'll find new locations, and hopefully the rain helps us out this morning. Well, guess what? The sun's back. The rain stopped, so I've pulled into a parking area, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk back up the road. So there's an old lay-by place, pretty overgrown. There's a burn that flees past it, so let's go and see what photograph opportunities we have in this area. Okay, so just when I thought it couldn't get any better, we've got a wee burn with a wee tiny waterfall. So what I'm going to do is, I didn't expect to photograph any water today just because it was more woodland, ferns with the autumnal colours, but I can't resist a wee waterfall, so I'm going to wade in to the burn. I'm going to set my camera up, I'll put my polarizer on, and then we'll see what little compositions we can get in this wee burn. This is really cheering me up. And then what I'll do is, there's a nice composition here on top of that, but I'll do that after I've taken shots for the middle of the burns, just in case the sun comes round and then completely destroys my image. I'm going to up, and then I'll just reduce this leg because this is the deep side, and then I'll see what images I can get from here, because I'm quite keen to get reflections. I just want to get those little falls in the foreground and then zoom in past the falls. I'll just find my polarizer. Yeah, so if I zoom in past the falls, I'm at f13, so I'm trying to find an area that I can focus on. Right, so there's a small clumpy leaves halfway up the burn, so if I'm trying to set a 4 second, a fourth of a second. Oh, that's nice, that's smoothed it out. And I think there's been a wee wind because there's been a fair bit of rain, not rain, drips of water. Right, so I'm just trying that again. Yeah, I might drop that down a little bit and then just change my composition a bit so I've got more of the falls. Oh, that's nice, just so that the water's got somewhere to go, because the shot that I did, it just took the base of the falls and there was no really anywhere for the water to go. There is some nice reflections in the water here that I could potentially zoom in on. So what I'll do is I'll stand over here now and then I'll take an image. Oops. I'll take an image on top of the falls just to see how that turns out. Alright, so we're above the falls now. The light's changing because there's some big dark clouds coming overhead. So I've set up my shutter speed to 1/4 of a second, because what I'd like to do is get some streaky lines from the foam that's going past, and then that helps smooth out the water. So I've got f8 ISO 100 and I'm achieving those streaks. I've got 1 or 2 wee highlights. So what I might do is up my f-stop to f9 without affecting the speed, and that's great. I've got no highlights that's coming through in the image. Great. Right, well, let's wander further up the track and see if there's anything else we can find. So I've come over the other side of the road. I'm kind of losing light because there's quite a lot of clouds starting to come in, but there will be breaks in the cloud for the sun to come through. So where first thing in the morning we thought we'd be taking woodland photography, we're not really in the woods because the forest drive was closed because I was here too early. But what I'm doing is I'm just scanning my way around as we walk, just to see if there's any trees of interest. I've spotted a yellow tree in the centre there. I've spotted a big tree in the top right hand side. I've got my 20-40-70 lens on, and what I might do is I might change lenses, but I'll try and get some wide shots with the 20-40-70 first, just to see if we can capture the mood. So I managed to walk over here, but I'm wringing wet. So I found a kind of little gully through the ferns to get to that little tree I was looking for. So I'm just focusing in on the tree. Okay. So what I might do is just slow down, increase the shutter speed, because I quite like the vibrance I'm getting with the kind of darker colour. So I'm shooting at a 30th of a second, f9 and ISO 100. So what I'm going to do now is, I think the sun might be coming. So I'm just turning it over to a little bit of landscape, portrait, sorry. I'm going to just absolutely put, I know this isn't going to work for a lot of people, but I'm going to put the tree right in the centre of my image. And the reason I've got the tree in the centre of the image is I've got a gully. So I want to use the gully for the ferns as a leading line towards the tree. The tree's moving about, so hopefully it doesn't move about too much. I've got some darkness behind it. The sun's starting to come out, which means I'm going to have to change my settings again. So that's fine, I'll just speed up the shutter speed. Because I can crop that in as a square crop. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to tilt the camera over to landscape mode, and I'll get that tree in the focus. Right, so if I increase the f-stop to f16, then if I try and zoom in, get my focus right, I might speed up the shutter speed. Let's see how that looks. Nice sky behind it. So now the sun's lighting up different pockets round about me. I'll see there's a cluster of trees straight ahead that might be quite a nice composition. I'm just trying to get the top of the ferns in frame just so it gives my image depth. I don't want the ferns in focus, but I do want the depth in the image if I possibly can. So yeah, we're getting quite a number of tree shots this morning. Mostly ferns, to be fair. It seems to be Fern City. It's quite amazing, and you'll probably see it through the film, all the different colours of all the ferns and the different stages they are. And that's because of the different types and the different species of fern. They change colour quicker through the autumn season. So it actually really helps, and it really makes the landscape pretty spectacular at times, especially when the sun hits it. So I'm just looking, there's a fern here that's backlit by the sun. So I'm just going to zoom in on that fern and try and catch it before the sun goes away. Yeah, that's a nice shot. Right, so I'll work my way back to the van, and we'll drive further round. We're going to get closer and closer to Loch Achray, and I might stop at Loch Achray and see if there's any more images down that way. But the problem is it's later in the morning now, and it's going to be really busy with people. So let's see where we go, and let's see where we can stop and see what other opportunities we've got. Right, so I've popped down to Loch Achray, and what I want to try and do is get a shot of the fence going into the water with the trees surrounding the loch, and then that mountain in front of us is Ben Ann. So what I'll do is I'll take a shot just now where I've got a fairly fast exposure because I want the detail in the reeds. Now what I'm going to do is put the big stopper on, because I want to smoothen out all the water, and let's see how this works. So I'll also put in my remote shutter, put it to bulb mode, set it to f16, ISO 100, and I'll keep a hold of this because it's starting to get quite windy. But with the magic of editing, you won't have to wait 2 or 3 minutes. You'll get to see the image now. You know, I'm probably going to finish it here. The reason is there's so much to do, and I want to leave myself plenty of locations for future videos. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks very much for watching. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because you know it's free. And if you press the bell notification, that'll let you know the next time I post a video. So thank you, and here's to the next video.